I now would like to call to the podium Sergeant Tyler Ross of the Ohio State Highway Patrol to talk about the Drive to Live program.
Good evening. Try that one more time. Good evening. Good evening. There we go. So I'm Sergeant Tyler Ross. A little bit about myself. So I'm in the Strategic Communications Unit. I've been doing that for about 3.5 years. Before that, I was actually assigned to this post in this county, Butler County, the Hamilton Post, as a trooper and a sergeant. And for about 7 years now, I've had some kind of, involvement with Buckeye Boys State. And I can tell you that I wish I had this opportunity. I wish I'd known about this opportunity when I was in high school. It's a really big opportunity. You look at the counselors, the mentors, the role models that are here, and it's such an incredible opportunity. So I want to take a minute to thank our partnership with the American Legion and also all the counselors here today, because they're taking time away from their families, from their careers to be here. And I see a lot of familiar faces every year. And like Lieutenant Colonel has been here 22 years. There's been people here for longer than that, and for at least 7 years that I've seen every single year. So let's take a minute to give them a round of applause for their participation. And then I also want to take a second to recognize command staff that's here with me today. This is Captain Tiffany Meeks. She's the commander of the Strategic Communications Unit. She has served in the military and also with the patrol and had a storied career in both. So take a minute to recognize her as well. So what is Drive to Live? So Drive to Live is a program that the patrol does to meet people where they are, specifically young adults, people like you. We go to high schools, community events, sporting events, and we meet you guys where you're at. What does that mean is we talk to you about decision making and how important it is to make those decisions, how critical it can be, not just, some might seem like a minute or a minor decision, but that could affect you for the rest of your life. And so when we meet, like I said, where you're at, so in the patrol, we're data driven. We look at data. That's how we focus our operations. Where do we need to go? Crash causing variables, fatal crashes, serious injury crashes. Where do we want to put our efforts? So in the last 5 years, there have been nearly 200,000 crashes that are teen related. So that's a lot of, because you don't have the training and experience behind the wheel of a vehicle. There's a couple small things that you can do when you're in a vehicle to save your life or prevent serious injury or death, and that's the simplest, most effective piece of equipment in a vehicle is a seatbelt. It takes a couple seconds to put on, and it greatly reduces the chance of serious injury or death. Distracted driving is huge. I know that you guys grew up as young adults with technology, right? Me in my 30s, I kind of saw that evolve. And older people in the room, they've seen the whole process from start to finish. But you guys, all you've known is technology. It's a huge part of your life personally, and it will be professionally. But you have to be responsible behind the wheel of a vehicle. It's not the time to do it. You're driving a deadly weapon down the road, and the amount of time that you look at a text message, you can travel a football field on the interstate at highway speeds. It's a long time to take your eyes off the road, so you have to put those phones down, be responsible behind the wheel of a vehicle. And as you guys graduate high school, and even in high school, when you get into college, you're going to be tasked with making tough decisions. And one of those is going to be alcohol. And when you get to 21, do it responsibly. But being behind the wheel of a vehicle, again, it's a deadly weapon. You cannot be behind the wheel of a vehicle impaired by marijuana, by alcohol, by drugs. There's just a couple small things, small decisions that might not seem like a big decision, but I can tell you the worst part of our job is to notify a family that their son or daughter, brother, sister, husband, wife are not coming home. And unfortunately, every day on Ohio's roadway, somebody's killed or seriously injured from a vehicle crash. And that, like I said, it's the worst part of our job, and no one goes out with the intent that they're going to be involved in a serious injury, crash, or death. But unfortunately, it happens every day, and a lot of that is because they were distracted, they didn't wear their safety belt, or they were impaired. So those are just big, those little decisions you get behind the wheel of a vehicle. And when we talk about decision making, we're all just a couple of decisions away from living a very different lifestyle. My dad was a great dad when I was younger. He was very present, a very successful person by all accounts. He played minor league baseball. He had a very successful tool and die business, and then he made a couple decisions. And those decisions turned into battling drugs for about 20 years. And he overdosed on fentanyl and died about 2 years ago. And that was about a month before my daughter, who's now 2, and my son is 1, were born. So they never got to meet their grandpa. And a lot of my life was absent of a father. And I can tell you, I wish I had this opportunity. I wish I had a mentor. I wish I had a role model, but I didn't. And I was tasked at a very young age to make a decision. Am I going to be a product of my environment, which most people in that situation, unfortunately, they have to make that decision. Am I going to continue that, or am I going to make change? Is it going to start with me? And what's going to stop with me? I can tell you that family patterns are very strong, but God is stronger, and you got to lean into Him. And my faith is persevered, has gotten me through trials and tribulations. And there's been people that's had it worse than me, but to grow up without a dad in an environment, I went to a school that is pretty well off and the above average income. And a lot of my life, even though I played sports, I was involved, I felt alone. And a lot of that is because I didn't have that mentorship. I didn't have that dad, that fatherhood. And I used to ask myself a lot, why me? Why me? Why don't I have a dad? Why don't I have these opportunities? Why am I tasked to make these difficult decisions and pay for things and have this responsibility to be the man of the house? And now, a little bit later in life, I'm matured and I ask, why me? Why am I so lucky? Why am I so blessed to have my health and a wife and a son and a daughter and be afforded to wear this uniform and the opportunities that I have? So as you go through life, that maturation process, it's going to allow you to look at things differently. It's about perspective. It's all about perspective. And earlier today was my grandma's funeral a couple hours ago. And my captain, being a great leader, but an even better human, said, hey, Tyler, you don't have to come tonight. Christy from American Legion said the exact same thing. And I thought about it for about 5 seconds. And then I said, no, I'll be there. If it means something to you, you'll make time for it. And this means something to me. This means a lot to me to be able to get in front of you and be able to speak to you and pour into you whatever it is, because I didn't have that. And maybe I suspect that there's people in this crowd that can relate to my story. And I can tell you, it's all the seat that you're in is a launch pad, and you are far ahead of your age. You're wise beyond your years, and you have a huge opportunity to continue to catapult yourself into adulthood. And I can tell you the next several years of the decisions that you make are going to lay the foundation for the rest of your life. And you have a really big opportunity. The seat that you're in, and everyone's been singing the same song. Your network is your net worth. You have to connect with people, exchange numbers, build those relationships. It goes so quickly. It goes so quick. We're already towards the end of the week. And you have to, your leaders, right? Your leaders. And, it was kind of a somber day, right? I laid my grandma to rest this morning. And throughout the day, death has a way to strip away distractions. And it got me to think. She was 88 years old. It was actually my dad's mom. My dad, like I said, he was a stud athlete. He had a successful business. So when my parents got divorced at a young age, my grandma and really that whole side of the family, you shouldn't take sides. They took my dad's side. And every time I would see my grandma for probably the last 3 years, she would cry every single time I'd walk in the room. And I thought, oh, maybe she's happy to see me, right? Maybe she's that happy. I don't think that was it. I think it was regret. It was regret that she missed out on a lot of me, my brother, and my sister, our life, our big moments, our moments of impact. She was absent. And a lot of that was pedaled back to those decisions, right? A couple decisions that were made that divided a family, that split a family, that allowed me not to have a dad, right, for the majority of my life. And my dad, a lot of the tools that I have in my tool belt are from him, a testament to him. He was an extremely hard worker. He told me from a very young age, you can do anything when you grow up. So when you look back, and when I look at the 88 years of my grandma's life today, and my dad, and kind of just digest that, right? It all comes down to decisions, and the decisions that you make. So there was a young lieutenant in the Korean War, and he was leading a battalion. He came to a literal fork in the road. He had to go one way or the other, and he didn't know what to do. And he sat there for a minute, and then he made a decision. And later, it happened to be the right decision, and someone asked him, how did you make that decision? And he had said, no decision, the wrong decision is better than no decision. People need a leader. People need to raise their hand. And he made a decision. And you'll figure out soon enough if it was right or wrong, but you have to make decisions. You have to be one to raise your hand. A lot of people follow the crowd. They wait for someone else to raise their hand. I encourage you to forge your own path. I encourage you to step up. You're already doing it. The seats that you're in. Continue to raise your hand. Continue to be a leader. Forge your own path. I challenge you to be bold. Lieutenant Colonel talked about discipline. He talked about statesmanship. Right? I don't have a script. I kind of organic. I feel the room. I guess that's kind of what I do. Right? I talk from the heart. And when I talk about what stops with you and what starts with you, that goes back. That's statesmanship. That's honor. That's integrity. That's being bold. And I've been a part of a small group for about 5 years through my church, and we lead. And I happen to lead the day after my grandma was passed away. And I asked that. That was a question that I kind of led up with. I was like, what stops with you and what starts with you? What's your legacy? Well, your guys' legacy starts right now, the seat that you're in. You've already started. You're writing your story. Continue to be bold. Continue to sit in the seats that you're in. Continue to network. As you get into college or a trade school or a career path or the military or join the patrol, we're hiring. Those things that you do, right? Those are opportunities for you to impact people. Those are opportunities for you to make a difference, to make an impact, to be brave. And it doesn't have to just be service. It doesn't have to be education or trade school. It's every day. Don't ever think that the small things don't add up to the big things. And a lot of people know that when I speak, I say this all the time. All my friends in the patrol, out of the patrol, personal, professional, I say lay bricks. I say it all the time. I said it last year, maybe even the year before. But Will Smith, when he was 8 years old and his brother was 9 years old, he was tasked to build a wall in front of his father's shop. He owned a small business. And that wall was 30 feet long and 16 feet high. It took him a year and a half to build that wall. And what that taught him is that you don't go out to build a wall overnight. But if you lay a brick as perfectly as a brick can be laid every single day, eventually you'll have a wall. So lay bricks, one brick at a time. It doesn't have to be monumental. It doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be a big thing. But lay bricks every day. So I encourage you to tell your problems how big your God is. Don't tell your God how big your problems are. Lean into your faith. Lead other people. I've said it several times. The seat that you're in tells me you're leaders. I'm standing in front of a room full of leaders right now. Don't step back. Don't let other people, when we're young, we're encouraged to walk. I have a 2-year-old and a 1-year-old. Made a huge deal when they'd walk, right? You clap, you cheer them on. Unfortunately, culture, when you get older, you talk about dreams and risks and taking leaps. And people tell you, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't know if it's going to work out. It's better just to be safe. Take that leap. Take that risk, right? Encourage people. Good leaders take people with them. Take people with you. And continue to encourage them. Be brave. Do it by leading. Raise your hand like I talked about. So I appreciate the opportunity to come here tonight. It means a lot to me. That's why, like I said, it took about 5 seconds for me to say, no, I'll be there. I love being a part of here, the counselors. I see the eagerness, right, that they're committed. That's a long time to be away from their family and their career, but they're here every year for you guys. So I hope that you're thanking them. I hope that you're connecting with one another. You only have a couple days left, but it's not too late. If maybe this week's gone too quick, like I talk about, 88 years is a long time for my grandma. Don't have any regrets, and that starts right now. I wish I had that information at a younger age, but I want to share it, right? I want to pour into other people and lean into other people. So network this week. Continue to take advantage of the last couple of days. Say thank you to everybody. Continue to lead, build those relationships, and be brave, be bold, forge a path. I really appreciate this opportunity to be here, and Godspeed to everybody. Thank you.